Morning guys, Saturday the 11th of July, and yes, we've started at the stream end. My reflection yesterday about starting somewhere different and being somewhere different, but that's all fine because at the end of the day it's being conscious and aware of it. So I am conscious and aware that choosing to come to the stream end, and that doesn't mean we're going to do it every day, does it? Well, no. Oh, see you, Will. She's on the other side. Oh, she's going to come flinging over now. Yeah, there you go. Oh, we'll wait for it to come up. So I was really sort of aware that I was quite angry with somebody yesterday, somebody that I'm close to and that I love, and they felt, I think, I would say the full force of my level of frustration around stuff. And what I'm very conscious of, sort of, reflecting on that, is that it wasn't just purely, I'm angry and that's it. I think it was really intense because, as I've often said to people, particularly when working with and dealing with anger, it's never just about the anger. It's always about other there's always other underlying emotions and feelings involved. And I think that I was also feeling really frustrated, disappointed, exacerbated, a number of other emotions there. And also I think when I did sort of show how angry I was, I recognised that they weren't really just getting the end of my anger. I mean, obviously that's what they would have seen and felt, but I think I realised for me that there's a couple of other people that I've seen the impacts of the decisions that have or haven't been made by this other person that has, I think, really left certainly at least these two other individuals feeling also hurt, upset, angry, frustrated, all those emotions and things that I was talking about. So because I hear that and I get a sense of that, and then I feel that, which is very hard, particularly with people that are close to you as well. One of those individuals has decided they're not actually going to, they're worth bother saying anything because it's just, they can't be asked, it's not worth it really for them, because they just don't want to put the time and energy in. The other person actually probably speaks to me, shares things with me, doesn't necessarily say anything to the other person. I think they've tried in different ways, but I think ultimately they don't share the full extent because I think they're also almost afraid that they'll upset or push this other person away, and at least they keep trying. A little bit of relationship is almost sort of better than none. But so there's that element, and so I was very conscious that I was also probably really, when I was sort of venting my anger, I think I accept that I was also venting at least two other people's hurt and upset and anger, that, as I said, for various reasons they haven't communicated that to the other person. And so I think there was, when I did say what I was feeling, and it came out in a very angry way, and also I when it's sort of that intense as well, and I did swear, and I felt at the time I was like, no, I felt it was justified, but when I sort of fairly soon afterwards, really, I did feel a bit bad and a bit, I suppose, a bit guilty for the intensity, and I think for the, I suppose a bit the swearing, really. I certainly wasn't, I don't, what I said, so to speak, and the intention behind it, I feel was right. But I think the way I ended up communicating it was, maybe not the best. But also, I think part of that as well is, I'm saying this now, and I'm acknowledging, my part to play, what that meant, what other emotions are involved, why I think it was even more intensely projected, because it relates, directly to two other people that I know, shared things with me. I also think it's very difficult when you also can see that another person, particularly so when it's people close to you, that they don't appear to acknowledge when they have actually done something that has impacted or hurt, upset the other person. In fact, to the extent that they really seem to just act as if nothing has literally happened. It's like stepping over something, and then literally carrying on as if nothing's happened on many, many occasions. And I think, I find that really frustrating as well. At the same time, I recognise that it can also be hard to acknowledge and be honest, with yourself, that actually you have done something that's wrong, or that's, hurt or offended somebody else. Because it's, I think by admitting that, you have to really dig deep and sort of feel, almost push through any sense of, I suppose, guilt or shame, or whatever else is there. And I think not acknowledging it just compounds things. It makes things a lot worse. And also, like I'm sharing here, as we know, if those things get just continually ignored, stepped over, and not acknowledged, then they don't just disappear. So, things sort of still present, or they maybe they don't, I don't know, they don't surface for a while, and then, for example, you might get upset or annoyed or angry, and actually, like I said, I'm very conscious reflection that I was also probably projecting, sharing, some intense feelings of what these other two people may feel as well. And I think often it's even more than that, because it may also be that there's so many other things that could have happened that are left either unspoken or not acknowledged and resolved. And so there's that intensity that sort of drives that, I think. And also, I'm thinking then as well about, I think in some relationships, particularly I think, well, any type, but I think more intimate ones where, perhaps you've been together with somebody for a long time. A lot of people will talk about resentment building up over time, because things aren't acknowledged, or they are ignored or stepped over. So resentment definitely comes along. There's a book that comes to mind then. I'm not sure I think, don't quote me on this, I'd have to look, but I think it's something like the Four Horsemen, and I think it's by Gottman, who does, if I recall right, do some great work around relationships of all sorts. And when they sort of describe these Four Horsemen, it's basically things that are, can fundamentally not just get in the way, but absolutely ruin. It leads to the breakdown of a relationship. And I was just talking there about resentment building up over time if things aren't acknowledged, and brought out into the open and resolved. And they talk about one of these, the horsemen, so to speak, called contempt. And I think that's what, in the long term, I think resentment can also begin to lead to as well, if you're not sort of careful. Contempt, just like a sense of dismissive, sort of just looking down upon, not giving time to. I think also coming back to that piece about, I think I mentioned the word yesterday about, the feeling righteous and justified. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think it's also acknowledging that it's a difficult one, really. We've all got to live our own lives, and we all have to face our own things in our own way. We can't force that on other people. But I think when it's like, somebody who you love or you've been close to for a long, long time, that can be quite hard in some respects to be able to let that go, in the sense of thinking, well, no matter what I think or feel, they have to make their own decisions and actually live with the impact of that. Because I think that's what it is as well. Now I'm saying that, I think that if you, for a long time, have perhaps tended to try and almost protect and buffer somebody's actions and the impacts of that from others, that's sort of natural thing perhaps to do for a period of time. But I think in the long term, if that person is not still really making any sort of different decisions that are going to impact in a more positive way for that individual, then I think ultimately you're sort of trying to protect them and the other people or persons involved, but ultimately there's still going to be at some point a consequence. And I think, I think they're still going to end up seeing that perhaps the person, whoever that is, hasn't necessarily been taking responsibility for their actions, or the impact, shall I say, on decisions as well being made. So I think it's I sort of feel it's natural to want to sort of protect all parties involved to some extent. I think that's what I probably do tend to do a bit. But then ultimately, you can't protect an individual or those involved from the fact that if they're not acknowledging and taking responsibility for their actions, then there's only so much you can actually do. And going back to what I just said earlier, is an opinion, and opinions are subjective, and so It's not necessarily how somebody else views the way they do things, or the way the decisions they make, or the way they say live their life. So yeah, and there's no. I'm just sort of sharing these reflections relating to it, and I suppose there's no neat little summary. I mean, there's no let's wrap it up nicely. I always say, with a put the little bow on the box and so forth. With all these sorts of things, particularly involving intense feelings and sort of close, say, friends, family, things that perhaps have, your decisions, impacts of stuff that can go on for many years. So it's never that clean cut, and it can be, messy, can get a bit entangled. Things can be said that can be sort of regretted, but we're talking about life, really, aren't we? Life, human beings, human dynamics, feelings, emotions, opinions, desires, wants, needs, wanting things for people in different ways, experiencing disappointment, anger, all sorts of other emotions when things don't always perhaps go according to how we or others may hope or want. And navigating all of that in its entirety, and that includes the messiness of it at times. So I think I'm going to love you and leave you guys. It's been quite a long one actually, now I just looked at the time. So have the rest of a great Saturday, sunny Saturday by the looks of it, and I'll speak to you later, guys. Take care, bye.